Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me for another Mystery Mystic video. I am going to do a quick reading at the end of this, so stay tuned, and I will timestamp it so you'll, be able to fast forward to where I do a reading. This is just strictly looking at the location. Are we on the right track with regards to Asha degree? And there was a recent update in the past week or so that the law enforcement in that area has new search warrants, and they were searching Roy Dedmon's old properties. He no longer owns them. The new owners allowed law enforcement to excavate, to search, and it has not been revealed what may or may not have been found. So we're going to address that today too. Like what's coming up next. Hopefully they did find something. But first up, we're going to look at the cards that came up in the past readings I've done. I have a whole playlist devoted to Asha's case. The link is in the description box. There's several videos now because I look at each of the named suspects that are listed, plus just the scenario surrounding what happened to Asha. So check it out when you get a moment. All right. First picture we have here is the house card. All right. So you see that house and you see the storm. We know that Asha left her home and she left during a storm. We don't know if she ran away or she just left and she intended on coming back. We don't know. But this house card is now taking on new meaning for me. And what I mean by that is the house card could not just, it can symbolize Asha's home, yes, but it also can symbolize the alleged person's who is involved in her disappearance, their house. Key evidence being at their house. Key evidence being surrounding the house. Or even she buried near or at or behind or in front of said house, right? So I wanted to point this out from the very first reading I did. This was the first set of cards that jumped out, and the house card came up. And now I'm looking at it. I'm recording this as of Monday, April 14th, 2025. And I'm seeing that card in a new light. All right, let's look at pick number 2. Now, we have here a couple of things that stand out to me from this set of cards. In the second row, we have trapped as the first card in the second row from the top, and then arson, destruction, and fire. That arson element or fire element or destroying of evidence via fire or some other form of destruction like fire has come up time and time again throughout all of the readings I've done in this case. So it makes me wonder, was she or any other major key evidence burnt or destroyed in that kind of manner? Was there a house fire? Was there a building fire or some kind of structural fire? And if it was, could that be a clue to where she may be at? Because that's why these cards kept persistently for the last several months that I've been doing readings on Asha's case. Why has those cards from different decks keep coming out? So I'm looking at also crime scene, landfill, dumpster, trash. Okay, so that's in the third row from the top. Okay, third row from the top. And so that could be that there's a crime scene. But what crime scene? Where? Well, somebody threw away some things, or maybe there's a nearby landfill where the property is that Asha could be located. Okay? Think about that. The last row on this picture is backyard house. Backyard house, and then isolated as the very last card. It's probably, of course, not their new location, not the alleged suspects' new locations. They have since moved. They sold the properties that police were searching last week, right? Somebody's backyard. Whose backyard? The alleged suspects. Backyard to what? A residence, a house, a residential facility. Isolated. It feels like, this might be an isolated area near a landfill. near an incinerator of some sort, and isolated. She's, you know, in an isolated area, tucked away, buried even. This next picture was taken from the reading. Actually, the first three pictures I'm showing you now was taken September 29th, 2024 when I did these readings. So what's interesting to me is the April card. We're in April, and I think it was last week that they are doing searches now, right? So April is of significance. It could be a past April, of course, but that's the first row. I want to also highlight, I want to note the third row, okay? We have east, and then we have here, I mean, there's a body of water, but I don't know if that was related to where she's located, but there's a swamp, reeds, or algae area maybe nearby. And east of where they presume that she had this encounter where she could have been hit deliberately or not deliberately, but then something more sinister happened to her after the fact, is what I'm thinking law enforcement is, you know, theorizing. And yeah, so what's east, or was the incident on the road east of where the properties are? I'm not sure. I'll have to look. I'll have to do a energetic map review. That's where I look at the maps, the Google, you know, aerial photos, and Street View if I can get into Street View. And I energetically look around and see if I'm picking up on anything intuitively. And then I compare it to what I'm seeing in the Street View and Google Maps, the aerial views. I compare it to what I'm picking up in my cards. And look at that. The third, excuse me, actually no, it's the fourth row. Fourth row, it says 0 to 15 kilometers. 0 to 15 kilometers. And I think this row is just interesting, speaking to us today about the situation. Somebody who has a clean record is going to be brought to justice in the coming months ahead. But the 0 to 15 months, or 15 months, 0 to 15 kilometers, sorry you all, I'm getting all excited, is telling me that everything happened to her within a very close proximity to her home, or a close proximity to the suspect's residences or places of work. Very tight circumference of where she's located is what I'm picking up on. Lastly, the very bottom row, we have cave, inside, and underground tunnel, which goes with the isolated picture I just showed you of her being kind of tucked away, maybe buried, or like in a, what do they call this thing, culverts? I don't know. But tucked away from sight, hidden. This next card should be pretty quick. I just wanted to point out the father card, the crime scene card, and footprints. It just seems to me that we are on the right track. This picture was also captured on September 29th, 2024. Father. Who's father? All right. There is a father involved as a listed suspect, and he's 80 years old. Okay, this picture also was captured on September 29, 2024. And we have forest, pathway, and mossy. The cards all the way tucked to the side. Okay. And then we have runaway in the second row below the tarot cards. Isolated came up again. Intoxication and bank records. So that's giving us some more insights and clues about the players involved, what's going on here that night, the bank of information. I'll think about that some more. The father card came up again. Father over baby, father and offspring. Then lastly, the last row shows outside. So she's outside somewhere very close. I'm saying very close to where they are looking, if not the spot, with 0 to 15 kilometers card that came up earlier. Pay attention to the last row. Arson, destruction, fire. Wow. That is coming up again in the set of cards. And I shuffle my decks. I thoroughly shuffle them all the time. This deck, when I did this reading, I think was sitting at 160 to 180 cards. So for it to keep popping up over and over again is telling me something. Was there a structural fire somewhere that for a building or a structure that belonged to the named suspects? This next photo is interesting to me because we got the very first card to the side has fire evidence. And the name of the card is fire. You can't see it clearly. We also have local. The local card is going to start coming up over and over again. You'll see that in a moment. But I wanted to show you all that card. The local card, especially the fire card. This is now from a different deck, right? And then the last card that I see here is gas station. Is there a nearby gas station? I don't know. Let me know, friends. Let me know, for those who are local or really know this case, if any of these landmarks or cards are speaking to somewhere out there. Just a few cards I want to mention here. We have the runaway card that came up. And then we have heavy speculation. The father card came up once again. Came up. And there's a prevalence of that. The father card keeps coming up, just like that fire element keeps coming up. We have another local card all the way towards the last row, very far corner. Local card. And this is, in fact, an active case. That stood out to me. It may have always felt like it's taking forever. Sometimes justice just takes a really long time, but it's active, and that's a good thing. Okay, cards from this deck. We have witness who saw things, several witnesses who are credible, is what I'm thinking. Credible enough to take the stand even and convince a jury, perhaps, we hope. But also, a thing that I see here that stands out that I'm concerned about is the S word. Someone taking their own life related to this case due to stress. We don't want that. But there is someone that I feel like has gone to the brink, maybe even thinking about this or contemplating this. I know there were other meanings I described when I did this reading on October 28th, 2024. That's captured in this picture. But I think now it's speaking to something else. And we have DNA evidence shown here, but it's the last row of cards I wanted to show you peeps. That's so interesting. We got intoxication, death, contamination, and burial or grave. Hopefully there's been no contamination of evidence. Look at the death card. It shows a skeletal remains buried. Then we have burial or grave. 3 of Wands represents the season of early spring. I do sense that law enforcement may have found something. They're just not going to say because they want to protect the integrity of the investigation. And they're being very cat and mouse and strategic in how and when they release information. 3 of Wands represents either the timing of 3 weeks in the past or the season of early spring. And so they could have gotten their search warrants and set out and actually got some vital information. So it's going to be interesting to see what came about their searches at the old Dedmon property. This is a reading I did on Lizzie on March 3rd, 2025. And what I want to point out to you is the cleanup card, bones, abducted or kidnapped cards. Remember, all of this is alleged. She has not been tried or convicted in a court of law. Now, with all that being said, we see affiliated and we see timelines. And I don't know. I feel like she might be the ticket to breaking this whole thing wide open. But look over at the cards where it says corruption, contamination, burial, or it's not burial, rule or country. Look at that barn looking area. It's a structure. Huh. Does she contaminate something related to a structure, allegedly? Yeah, that's what I'll point out from her card. I recorded this one on March 3rd, 2025. We have here a reading that I did for Anna Lee, and it's one of the sisters. Again, the S card comes up. It doesn't mean it's her. It could be someone surrounding her that's got ideation and thinking about such things, or have in the past, and she's worried about family member. We have here a lot of information, so check out these readings. All of the readings are in the playlist if you want to see how I went in depth with it. But I specifically need to talk to you about the targeted victim. I found that interesting, that she has information about her being targeted. And then also, let me make sure I get out of here. Sorry, friends. Okay. Also, look at the family members and private property next to the justice and karma card, all the way at the corner by Annalee's name. Who's private property? Who's family members? Annalee's family members, allegedly. Annalee's old private property, allegedly. I also took a photo of this one that was a reading that I recorded on March 3rd surrounding Sarah. We see house again. House came up again. Okay. We see here motive, controller, domination. The next set of cards in that same top area, it says inside, inside job, inside knowledge, inside a vehicle, inside a residence, inside. Huh. And then all the way at the bottom by Sarah's name, bloodline. Bloodline. That stands out to me. More confirmation, allegedly. That's why I'll leave it at that with Sarah. Okay, so now we're going to just ask, is police on the right track with where they're now searching in Lincoln County, the old properties of Roy Dedmon? The full yes. Yes, yes, all three yes cards. Okay, they are on the right track. Ground zero. Remember the 0 to 15 kilometers. They are on the right track. This is a yes card. Next up. Yes. Yes. Early spring with the Ace of Wands. Knight of Cups. We may hear something a bit more either in the next 12 days, a little bit more about the search, but maybe not. Maybe it just is family hearing more. But certainly by summer, it's gonna be more developments coming through. The Fool card represents the time period of when, like January 21st to February 20th. That is a key time frame. That was the time frame when Asha first went missing, but it could be in the recent past. That was an important period, like in 2025, and maybe going forward into 2026. Okay, so that's encouraging to see. That answer is yes. They are on the right track. This is it. This is the area. Law enforcement's getting closer. They're getting hot. Okay, now let's ask, did the search produce anything of value for the investigation? I feel like if they would have found her, they would have mentioned that. So I wonder if they found anything of value. Queen of Wands. Very well could be. That's a strong yes card. Something of value, something of importance to the investigation. is with the Queen of Wands. It is an affirmative card. Something left behind by a female energy, maybe something hers, female energy, feminine energy. But yeah, first we were asking, are they on the right track? We got 3 yes cards. Did they find something of value? Yes. You know, like I said, I feel like if they found her, they wouldn't be able to contain that. It would be a whole thing of, I would imagine, like the family knowing, the news, you wouldn't be able to contain that, right? So something else may have come about that they aren't going to share that until they are ready to share. Now, we're gonna just see if we can get any clues on what that may be. Footprints, okay. Footprints, that's interesting. Backyard, that came up again. Also suburban, I forgot to mention that when one of the pictures, I don't know if I pointed, I didn't include in one of my picture analysis. I don't know. It's like a house situation. It just supports that so much. Let's see what else comes up. Anything else, Spirit, about what was found or what will be revealed later in the coming weeks ahead? One more card. No, we'll just go through it. Yeah, it came up again. Okay. So footprints, some sort of evidential, something evidential that's going to help the case. Something found in the backyard. Again, close proximity. They are on the right track. Something may have been thrown or discarded away or, you know, disposed of with this card. That alludes to motive, control, or domination. This card came up in her earlier readings, right? We talked about that. Disguise or change of appearance. Not quite sure of what this is speaking to, but it's here and it may be relevant down the line as time goes on. Hired help. Could be also just like looking at the case in its entirety of somebody helping these people. Being on somebody's payroll and you know, and helping them, whether you wittingly or unwittingly know it, is in effect hired help. Also, it could be hired help from the family. This doesn't always mean like, oh, they hired help to make her go away. It could be hired help like now in the present. Maybe a publicist or the attorneys hire experts or all the, you know, or maybe the law enforcement hires experts that are going to come and have to do additional digging of some sort later in the spring, in the coming weeks ahead. Wands represents the timing of weeks for me or the season of spring. In this case, Queen of Wands could represent up to or just after 13 weeks or the season of mid to late spring. We got this again outside, just outside the structure. In the backyard. Okay, let me zoom out so you all can see all the cards. Sorry. I always forget to look up and make sure you all can see them. And then lastly, I don't know how, just like I didn't really know or pick up yet what this is talking to. This I feel like came up before, but in a different kind of card, like affiliation or some kind of political affiliation or protection or gang or I don't know, some kind of conspiracy or gang kind of activity. Y'all let me know what you think this card could mean. So that was it. I just wanted to do a quick touch base to see if law enforcement's on the right track in Lincoln County as it relates to their latest searches to find her or find key evidence to unlock what really happened to her. And these cards all signify yes, on the right track, and yes, something of evidentiary value came about, and that's encouraging to see. And yet again, out of the 180 cards, we got this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Do me a favor, on your way out, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, friends. We're going to keep following Asha's case as long as I can. You all take good care of yourselves. See you all around. Bye for now.